Do your thing.
Good morning, Google Plus listeners and YouTube listeners. Good morning and welcome. And we have our very special guest and very good friend, Michael Harris, with us today, who is a very powerful medicine man and awesome speaker in the gifts and with the work that he does. And I am honored to do this show with him, and I am honored that he is here. I'm also honored that we're friends. Michael and I were just in the presence of, we just said a prayer, and I am just about to invite all the divine beings in, and then Michael, would you like to join in when you're ready in a moment? I would like to invite the grandmothers of the Four Directions. I would like to invite Chief Red Cloud, Chief Crazy Horse, Chief Sitting Bull, and White Buffalo. I would also like to invite the Ascended Masters, the Archangels, our spirit guides and master teachers. May this show be more than we could have ever hoped for, in abundance and glorious ways for both myself and Michael and for all those that are listening. Thank you.
Oh,
Michael,
good
welcome.
morning. It's a gorgeous day here on the British Columbia west coast of Canada, and I'm just so pleased to be here. I'm very humbled to be here. Creator guides us in mysterious ways for sure, but the glorious ways, you know, whether we're challenged or whether it's gentle and easy, you know, there's always teachings involved, and so whenever we're sharing, we are also receiving teachings when we're sharing. So it's a wonderful thing. You're looking very nice this morning, Jean.
Thank you, and you look very nice too. Thank you.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! So Michael and I have made an agreement that when it's possible for him, he will be on the show, and we're going to talk about how men have been programmed to not have their feelings be shared and exposed, and how women have been put into submission and suppressed throughout history.
Well, that's exactly right. You know, I'm not really sure just how it started, but it started eons ago, and I know that on the North America, when we had first contact with Christopher Columbus and everybody else that followed him, that's what we were taught as men. We were taught as First Nations to subjugate our women and to block our feelings as men, because they brought that with them, and they had already gone through that transition. I don't know how long ago, but certainly it was a long time ago. What's really interesting is that we were told that this was going to take place before it happened, and that we would go through a very difficult time. But what's really exciting about it is that we would come out of that dark time. We would come out into the light. And when we come out into the light, then the very world would be coming to the First Nations in North and South America on the very thing that they really were trying to extinguish, which is our culture and our spirituality. Now, how does that affect the rest of the world? What it does is we take the lead on doing the rebalancing. And it's really important that we rebalance. And what the rebalancing means is that the power that was taken away from our life givers, the subjugation stops. The power returns to our life givers, who are our traditional leaders throughout the world from the beginning of time. And that the men whose traditional roles were to be providers and protectors were to do that, return back to our natural role. And our life givers are going to forgive us men for the abuses over the countless years that was bestowed upon the life givers. And that's really important. That's very exciting. And what's exciting about right now, talking about this right now, because it's been talked about for a very long time, is that this really is the time of rebalancing. This is the time of coming out into the light. And when the First Nations are coming out into the light from the last 400 years, what happens is everyone is coming out into the light. no matter where you are on Mother Earth. It's the time of rebalancing. And you look at what's happened to Mother Earth in the air, what's happened to Mother Earth in the water, what's happened to Mother Earth on the ground, what's happened to Mother Earth in our financial districts, what's happening with our health for our physical bodies, what's happening with our four-legged, with our winged ones, the ones that are rooted, the plants, the ones that live on and in Mother Earth, the bugs and everything else. How there has been a change over the years, and we're headed for mass destruction. And really what it comes down to is it's not the bugs, it's not the four-legged, it's not the flying ones, it's not the fish, it's not the star beings, it's human beings. We are the difference makers. We're the ones that have changed the balance. And it's really important that the only way that we get back to the balance is that the human beings have to come into balance themselves. So that's why it's so important that our life givers are in a position to return to their power place, which are the leaders. Now, that's not to say we don't have life givers who are already there. I acknowledge them, and I know they're there, and I support them, and I lift my hands up to them, and it's really important that we do that. But there's also a significant amount of life givers who aren't aware. They have been taught since they were born to be in that place where the life givers are, which is in subjugation. And the men, when they're born as little boys, they're taught not only by males, but by females to subjugate the females. And that needs to stop. So we need to get the adults, the youth, and the babies that are born now to understand the differences. Is that not right, Jean? You and I've talked about this.
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I also agree with you on what an exciting time in history this is unfolding. And I am grateful, and as I'm sure you must be, to be a part of this and to be a part of this wave. I'm sure I'm sure you also probably went through your struggles of making the shift, just like I did and some other men and women out there. What I would really like to see is more women standing in their power and ownership of who they really are. And I would really love to see more men step into their female sides.
Yes, for sure. If I can talk for a moment just on how we train our children to become adults in the way we are. So our boys are born, and everyone loves babies, and I do too, because when they're babies, they're still angels. Spirits have just come from heaven; they've just entered the body, and they're new. Babies can see spirits. Babies understand.
I'm only speaking for a moment, Michael, because you froze. So I will zip my lips when Michael comes back. Maybe he's having a little internet problem, I don't know. But I'm sure he'll be right back with us. And yes, Michael is right, because we can't hear Michael right now. Little boys and girls have been programmed to follow the beliefs and the patterns of that family that have been passed down through generations. Yes, I agree with Michael. I think that one of the reasons why everybody loves babies is because they're a new soul coming in. Whether they're an old soul or a brand new soul, they're still fresh from the light. And hopefully Michael will be back. He just dropped off. So anyway, I just want to remind everybody that about 10:28 we'll be taking a break and calling into Blog Talk. And We love call-ins, 347-989-8446. So one of the things that Michael does is he goes around and he gives talks on helping men and women step into their divine self power. And that's one of the things I do. We do it differently, of course. Each week when I'm on my show, I'm talking about self-love, self-worth. Yeah, I talk about manifesting, but that's because manifesting is always on people's minds. So come on back, Michael. He was really on a good roll there too. So what Michael and I are trying to do here is to help make people more aware of it. And, you know, a lot of us don't think about how we got programmed unless the conversation comes up, like what we're saying now. I'm just going to send Michael a quick text and see if he's coming back. But I'm still here with you. Let's see. Oh, is he back? Is Michael back? I hear him, I think. Michael, are you back? Hi.
Hello.
So glad you're back. Oh, wow, this is interesting. Can you hear me?
Well, I am, and what's happening?
I'm sorry, say that again. Oops, we dropped Michael again. I'm so glad that Michael's going to get back on and he's going to be able to finish the show with us. You got to love all these funky things that happen. Oh, Michael's back. Yay!
Can you hear me? Can you hear me and see me?
Yes, I can hear you and see you. Can you hear me and see me?
I can. So what took place there was that the computer decided it was going to shut down and do all kinds of maintenance work, and it did it without asking me. So in mid-word, all of a sudden you were gone. So now I'm on my cell phone. And that's fine. So you can see me and hear me fine. We'll carry on with that.
Yes.
Meanwhile, when my computer does finally get operational again, I'll get it back, and then we can switch around. But that's the interesting thing of life, is that things happen before we are prepared. Things happen when we're unknown to it, and so here we are. So what we were talking about earlier was how our youth learn how to do their things that they've been doing. And what it is they're born, they're angels from heaven, so they can see the spirits, they know everything that came from heaven, but as they grow older, it's like a curtain kind of dropped, blocked from that understanding and awareness. And we begin to really live our human being experience, because in reality, each human being is a spirit having a human being experience. And so what we've been doing is we've been teaching our boys from early birth that they are better than men, or they're better than, well, yeah, they're better than men, they're better than women, they're better than children, and they're better than elders, and that they must make sure that the females pay attention to them and that they're the boss. And that's what they did, is they took the power away from the life givers, and that creates the imbalance, because the male's role is to provide and protect. And if a male should be the leader, he is the leader at the direction of the life givers who stand behind him. And he's there in a serving role rather than demanding everybody serve him. And again, there's the imbalance. And so we need to make sure that now, instead of our children hearing, don't throw like a girl, don't act like a girl, and then teach them to put girls down, because each time that those little boys hear comments like that, what's going on is it's like they're putting a nail in the doorway, into the door jamb of the pathway to their heart, to their female aspect. And so when that happens continuously over their lifetime, pretty soon there's no more room around that door, because there's all these nails in there from all the comments about teaching them how to subjugate women. When there's no more room in that doorway to their heart, to their female aspect, to their emotions, then the junk starts piling up against the door. And so that by the time they become men, they're taught that they show no emotion at any time, and if there's going to be emotion, it will be anger, because they're frustrated and they're disappointed in themselves, and they don't understand women, and they don't even understand themselves when you get down to it. And so there's a lot of angst and anger that comes through the men, and then they're taught that it's okay to physically abuse, mentally abuse, sexually abuse, spiritually abuse. All the abuses that you can think of can go out from the man. And so that's where we are. And but what is important is that when we become aware of our position, of why we are where we are, that we must make a concerted effort to change that. And I became aware of it quite a few years ago, and I spent a few years working on opening up my female aspect. And that meant that all the junk that was in front of my door had to be removed. And so that means ceremony, that means prayer, that means intention, that means working really hard at trying to be nice, trying to be thinking good thoughts, doing good thoughts, being very respectful of life givers, trying to understand how I can please life givers in a very respectful role. And while we walk together, we need to understand that throughout this whole process that us men are not the leaders. Really, we're not. It's the life givers. And so eventually we get all the junk away from our door, and then we continue going through ceremonies, doing our prayers. There's many ceremonies, no matter what, how you follow your own personal spiritual way. Now, I follow a spiritual path in that I have a direct connection to God, our Creator, and the entities that Creator uses, the angels and the leaders of the different religions, like Jesus, for example, is a leader in spirituality. And Buddha and all the other leaders from the different religions, they're all walking together under Creator. And so the intent is for those people to lead people to have a relationship with God, our Creator. And so do ceremony, be with people who are of good mind, good like, good nice, good love, all these things.
People who are positive.
And pray for that. Yeah, first be removed. I know that eventually I took the last nail out of the door for my door jamb, and the door creaked open. I mean, just a smidgen, little bit. And when that happened, the emotion, the strength of that female aspect hit me like a cannon. And I praise Creator for not throwing that door wide open, because it's so powerful. I'm sure that I would have been really seriously hurt if I'd had that door thrown wide open. So it was just cracked open and minuscule. I felt it, and then I slowly opened that doorway to the finally where today my female aspect is wide open. And it's really important to understand that when a male has his female aspect open, that completes him. That completes him. His male and female aspect are open. Life givers are all female aspect. And there is no male aspect in them. And why would they want to have male aspect when they have the strength, the understanding, the love, the empathy, the forgiveness, all the emotions that come from the female aspect? They have no need for that male aspect.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's just that before you go on, I want to come back to what you said a few sentences ago. Could you, and please don't feel pressured, okay? But, I don't have My notepaper is downstairs. Oh wait, no, here it is. I wanted to ask you, Michael. You just expressed how your door to your feminine side had opened a little bit, and you were grateful that it didn't blow wide open. Can you explain to the men that are listening? Is how that felt? I mean, is there a way that you can put it in words? Because I know that we have men listening. Or would it be better if you talked about the Shiwa?
Okay, let's go to the feeling. It's really a feeling that's really hard to understand. You need to experience it. And so long as you're opening yourself up, eventually you will experience it. And you have to have a desire to experience it. And you can get confused on what it's all about. And I'll give you an experience that I had where I was at a function where I was teaching advanced campfire making. And so I had a lot of older youth come into my class, and I was going through that. And then through the day, I had one class that was clear. And so that opened me up to have do something else if I chose. And my granddaughter was there, and she was about 7, 8 years old at the time. And so I thought I would see if I could go find her, because there was many different stations, many different teachings taking place. And interestingly enough, I found her at the beginners of campfire making. And so she was there by herself. She was in the class, but she didn't have any adult role with her. And so when I arrived, it was perfect. And because all the other children had their moms and dads or other caregivers with them. And so my granddaughter was so pleased to see me, and we started going through the process of learning how to make a proper campfire safely and whatnot. While we were doing this process, a man to my left was getting frustrated with his son, and he was guiding him, but his son wasn't quite getting something. So he ended up making some comment like, you know, the girls here are doing better than you. I mean, you got warrior up, or you got to toughen up, or you got to get better, you know. And there was some comment about making this boy better than females, and I couldn't believe that. I was hearing it right beside me, and my granddaughter was hearing it, and all the other children were hearing it, and all the other adults were hearing it. And I thought, if someone doesn't correct this right now, then we just put a nail in everybody's heart. And so I stood up and I said, "Excuse me, sir, I'd like to talk to you." And so he said, "Oh yeah, what is it you want?" And so I shared with him that what he was doing was very hurtful for not only for his son, but for everybody else, and including himself. And that he was so disrespectful towards the life givers that it's not going to help. And his response was, "But I didn't swear." And I said, "I know you didn't swear, but you were showing so much disrespect to life givers, and you're teaching your son to disrespect life givers. And my granddaughter's standing here, and she's learning from you that she's less than your son, and that's not correct. She's the leader. All life givers are the leaders. And we need to acknowledge that, and we need to teach our young children this so that they're balanced properly as adults." And his response was, "But I didn't swear." And I said, "I know you didn't swear." And then another man stood up in the circle and said, "Excuse me, I'd like to say something." He said, "This man is correct. You are teaching your son wrong things. You're being hurtful to your son." And the man looked at the other man and he goes, "But I didn't swear." And so now his intention was to speak good language, but he didn't understand what good language was. And what good language is that we empower our life givers to know their power. We empower young males to know what their power is, and how we walk together in unison and support each other and love each other and respect each other. And that's what it's all about. And it's important that we as males have to identify that we have taken the power from the life givers, and it must be returned now. What's so important about that is that the life givers have all the knowledge and understanding and the awareness, the forgiveness and everything else. And because the males are in control, we have gone after the money and the power of going after the resources throughout the world, and as a result, Mother Earth is in chaos with all the pain. Like the air quality is down, the water quality is down, the Mother Earth, the dirt, the very dirt is in peril, And if we don't have these things and we're killing off our frogs and our bugs and everything else, plankton or whatever else, we're not going to have life. We're going to die. And the life givers will not permit that to happen. And if the life givers got control back, then they would guide us to a healing journey to help Mother Earth. And we need to do that as soon as possible. So that's where it's at, is that there's an incredible feeling you have when you finally complete yourself, for men, in that we open up our female aspect. I was at a funeral the other day for a man, and I work in the marine industry. And this man and I worked together, and he was my deckhand. And we got along really well, and he just passed away. So I went to his funeral, and the family asked me to speak. While I was up there, I became very emotional, and I had to step back from the microphone a couple of times to reground myself. And then when I felt I was able to speak again, I'd step forward and continue my presentation. And after the second time of doing this, everybody's looking at me, and I look at the family, and I said, my female aspect is wide open. I feel all the emotions. And when I feel the emotions, I don't try to hide them. I let them blossom. I let them come out. I said, it is okay for man to cry. And I stand there up there on the podium with tears running down my face, because I was hurting because I lost my friend. Now, my friend isn't hurting anymore. I know he's in heaven. I'm very joyful for him. What I'm sad about is my own personal loss, that I can no longer hug him, shake his hand, work with him, and go for a coffee with him and spend time with him. And that's the painful part. But there's also a part in me that's very joyful that he's gone back to heaven. And that's our feelings. That's our emotions. And so there's many stories I can talk about that, but we're getting short on time here.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break in probably under 60 seconds, and so I can call into Blog Talk.
Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to let you carry on until we get to that point, and while you're talking and doing that, I'm going to get my laptop up and running.
Okay, sounds like a great plan. And if you want to be involved with the water, Michael, have some water with you. I
do, and you carry on.
Okay, so big hugs for everyone. And respect and honor and love. So while Michael is getting set back up on his laptop, we are going to take call-ins at 347-989-8446. And I'm going to put you all on hold for a moment so I can call into Blog Talk. And in the meantime, if you would like to have your water blessed for drinking, please get your water ready, and if it's a water bottle, take the cap off. And remember, if you have coffee, tea, or juice or soda nearby, move it away from your water, please, or else it will get changed. And we'll be right back with you. Thank you for joining us here.
Live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Long Hold Radio.
Good morning, Blog Talk listeners. Thank you so much for joining us. We have an amazing show here that we're talking about. We have Medicine Man Michael Harris, who is joining us on Google+, YouTube, and Blog Talk. Michael, are you here with us?
I am, and I'm still working on my computer, so please carry on without me for a moment.
All right. Well, while Michael's doing that, let's do the water blessing. And I know Michael has his water there, so he doesn't have to hold it. We'll just charge his water too. We are purifying the cells and empowering the cells of the water for what you individually need. And when you're ready, you can take a sip. Ooh, mine tastes lemony. So where we left off is talking about how it's really important.
Are you hearing that noise?
Yeah.
I think that's my phone and my computer's on.
Did you turn the volume down?
How's that? No.
Nope, we're echoing.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Maybe it's me. Kind of interesting how this happens.
Yeah, okay, I have to turn off my cell phone here so that I can do my work and then phone in.
Okay.
So carry on without me for a moment, please.
Sure. Anyway, so you'll notice that your water will taste different each week. If it happens to taste the same, it's because it's what you still need. I think one of the most interesting water changes was when it changed to salty for someone. So that was really interesting that their body needed more salt, and the divine knows that. So we were talking about how the language that has been passed down through generations in history has preset and programmed little boys, little girls that eventually grow up into adults and continue to carry that same programmed language behavior. There's a lot of women out there that are still struggling with finding their worth, and possibly they're choosing partners that keep them down with their thumb because that's what they've been programmed, and to let men rule them. Or in some cases, there have been women who have suppressed men. The majority of it is more men suppressing women, but I don't want to discount that there has been women out there who have stepped into such a warrior anger space against men that they have become abusive. Michael, are you back with us?
I've got that. I'm just trying to get on Blog Talk now.
Okay.
Carry on. Please carry on.
I love working with you, Michael, because we are very respectful with each other and in our work that we do, and I know that is what you're like when you're out in the world, as just like I am. I try to be conscious of my words all the time. I had a conversation with someone last week, and actually this was a moment when I slipped, and I'm not saying that I don't slip sometimes, because I do. I do the best that I can do. someone had suggested that dating sites were really good. And my argument, not argument, my words back were that from my previous experiences in the past, not everybody really lists their truth. And, oh, Michael, we have a, no, your area code 604, right, Michael?
Say that one more time, please.
Michael, your area code 604?
That is correct. And I'm on Blog Talk now.
Okay, Michael, we got you. Yay.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! So I was just saying, Michael, I don't know if you heard me, that I try to be mindful of my language. And there are moments when I can slip because I'm still a human being.
Yes, we are human beings, and we're going to make mistakes, and that's part of the human being experience. And so what's important when we recognize that we've made a mistake is that we correct ourselves. We ask Creator to forgive us. We have to ask the people that we've offended to forgive us. We have to make amends. And what's really important is that we must forgive ourselves as well. Now, having done that, forgiven, that doesn't mean that we can continue to repeat that same transgression. We must stop doing that, and we must move forward. And so for men, we need to honor our life givers at all times. And that can be very confusing, because when I say to you, Gene, you're my leader, you're my boss, you're more powerful than I am, and then if you misconstrue that and say, okay, now I'm totally listening to everything I say at all times, it's really not that at all. Is that we do walk in balance, we walk side by side, but I recognize that you are the true leader, and I support you being that true leader. And I assume my role as a male, as a warrior, to protect all life givers, children, and elders, and all that there is in Mother Earth. And also to provide as best I can. So that's housing, food, resources, emotional support, spiritual support, and every other kind of support that we're supposed to do. And when I do my role, without trying to take your power from you, and then you do the same, then we walk in balance.
Exactly, and that's what I would prefer to do. I would prefer to walk in balance.
Before we went to, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Gene?
Yes.
Okay. So before we went to Blog Talk, we mentioned Shiway. And Shiway is a society here in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And what they do is they support life givers with babies, and the babies have to be the age between 0 and 6 years old. So that means that a mother who has no children but is pregnant can receive support from Shiway. And they support them in every way possible that you can think of. So they're single moms. And so we recently had a special ceremony. We're honoring Mother Earth and all life givers. And so there were, I think, 30 different women there and their babies. And there was a mother there that didn't have any children, but she was pregnant. So we were 0 to 6 years old. And we had them in the inner circle, and we had entertainment for them, and we honored them, and we fed them, and we gifted them. And it was very important to understand the support and the children. And so we had 4 witnesses. Everyone's witness, I understand that, but we had 4 designated witnesses. And I was really honored as a male warrior to be at a life givers event for life givers by life givers. And so for a male to be there and to be witnessed, to become a witness, it was a great honor, and I was very humbled to be there. And so I was able to share about how we need to rebalance to support the children and teach the children from the time in the womb, right till the time they go back home to heaven, that life givers are our traditional leaders, and we must empower them from the time up and never place them in a position where they feel less than anybody. But they also be balanced as well, so that they can use their forgiveness, understanding, awareness, all the powers that they have in good ways. And similarly, the boys need to be taught to be warriors in a good way and to honor all things and be the providers and not to subjugate women. So for me to be able to be there and actually talk to a child in a woman's womb and talk to children that are up to 6 years old, and then teach the life givers that role too, because I was able to get into it in a more in-depth way with them, and they were so interested. And that's what's really alive about the work that I'm doing, is that when I see a life giver getting the message from a male, you can see a transformation taking place. Because let's be honest, life givers have been talking this for a long time, but the males have not been listening. But now the males are listening, and we're becoming active in supporting and the rebalancing of our roles. So that's what I do.
And it's awesome work, Michael, that you do.
Thank you.
I know.
Yeah, there's many different roles. There's many different ceremonies that are taking place now. I know that when we have many different ceremonies that Life Givers organize in Vancouver, particularly down the downtown east side, and that's where the lowest postal code in Canada is, in Vancouver. And so a lot of our women have died down there, murdered or gone missing. And so the Life Givers organize walks to remember the children or the women who were murdered and missing, and taught to be less than and placed in positions where they have to actually let their bodies be used in clean ways, because they've been placed in positions that they have to do that. And so we men go on these walks with the women, and we walk behind them because we got their back. That's what the warriors are doing. And the women lead the ceremony, they do the ceremony, and if any time during that ceremony a male comes to take the leading role, he's only doing that at the direction of the life givers. And that's the proper role. So we need to understand that.
I just forgot what I was going to say. I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, that's all right. If any of the listeners would like to phone in and ask us a question, I'd be more than happy to deal with any question that's placed forward. If you have a phone number for them to phone in on.
Yes, and that number is 347-989-8446.
Okay, now we're going to say it one more time, but we're going to say it much slower so they can write it down. Please.
347-989-8446. And I said it like
Thank you.
with love, because whenever I'm on the phone and I'm using my telephone number, I do say it slow like that. And it's not coming from a place of disrespect. It's coming from a place of respect. Because there's so many times when people will leave me a message with their telephone number. If it doesn't come over, maybe it's blocked or a private number. Sometimes I'm listening to that message 10 times, trying to figure out what the number is because it's being said so fast.
Yes. When I was a little boy, I can remember I was born with gifts. I say that in a humble way, but I was afraid of those gifts because there was nobody there to explain them to them. And everybody has gifts. It's what's important is that we become aware that we have gifts and we start to explore what those gifts are. In the old days, in the traditional days, we had villages and we all supported one another. And we sat around the fire most nights and scared. The elders would be watching the children and they would be seeing what gifts they have. And they would be encouraging growth and understanding, awareness, and knowledge of what those gifts mean and how to use them. So today's with we're such a fast-paced world. It's hard to take a breath sometimes to do anything, much less try to figure out what our gifts are. But once we find out that we have gifts and we start exploring them and chasing them and understanding them and then using them in a good way for positive results, then our life is going to change. Before we can do a lot of this work, one of the things we must do, I've noticed, Gene, we've talked about this, is that we must heal ourselves. So how do we heal ourselves? When we wash our face in the morning, we're standing in front of a mirror. And what we do is we take the moment to stop and look each other in the eye. And what do we do, Gene?
We say, I love you. You are fabulous. You should be proud of yourself. You've worked really hard and you need to celebrate yourself. You looked beautiful yesterday, but today you are fabulous.
That's right. And we can say all that in one word, which is you are worthy. Say you are worthy and I love you. Exactly like you said.
Exactly.
We do that for 90 days. And as we're doing that, after even a week, you will feel a difference in yourself. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're healing your spirit. We are spirits having a human being experience. And we're taught to go out and do work out in the community and help everyone else. But no one is teaching us how to help ourselves. So that's why shows like this are so important, and why when I'm invited to it, I jump at the chance to do that, to make sure that people understand how do I heal myself. I look in the mirror, when I'm walking past a plate glass window, I see a mirror during the day, I'll stop and I'll say, I love you, you are worthy. And then you're feeding that spirit inside you, and your spirit is healing. When our spirit is hurt, then we manifest ourselves into a sickness in our body, mind, or spirit. So if we don't fix the spirit, then the doctor is only fixing the symptoms. And when we fix the spirit, then the symptoms will disappear.
Exactly.
So we need to do that too.
Yes, and that's why it's important, as you say, and that's part of my path and on my shows every week, is for people to heal themselves and love themselves and step into their self-worth. Because we are, it's kind of interesting, Michael, because where we're at in one of the many ways is we're working on the I so that we can strengthen as one in the we. Because,
That's correct.
I mean, yes, and I feel that way too. That yes, we're in the age of Aquarius where it's about we, where it's about unity, but we cannot get to the we spot until we heal ourselves, and that, you know, that's definitely self-worth and self-love, forgiveness. You know, I want to just say this. I'm remembering what I wanted to say before. I was part of a worldwide meditation last year over the internet, and where millions of people were tuned in, and there was a selected man who was selected to speak to the life givers, and he was speaking for all men. And for being a woman and hearing that is really profound, and especially women who have come from a suppressed space. It's important for women who have been suppressed to hear men say, I'm sorry I suppressed you. I'm sorry that I did not value you, and so on. You know what I'm saying?
It is important, and it's important that when a man says that, it's heartfelt and comes from the spirit.
Exactly.
We're not using it as a tool.
It has to be authentic. It has to be from the heart, because a woman would know if it's not.
And how the women would know is that we put out vibrations when we're speaking, when we're communicating. And so if someone is speaking falsely, the vibration that's coming from them, that's being received by the other person, the person receiving will feel the falsehood when they're aware of how to interpret the vibrations. And as part of our healing journey, we feel our vibrations. The
Mhm.
other part that we can use to understand whether something's in false or not is that every person has at least one spirit guardian. And how we know that is I can prove to you that everyone has a spirit guardian. Because every woman talks about women's intuition. And when a woman's intuition is working, that's when their spirit guide is whispering to their spirit the truth. And the spirit guide will never turn us in a wrong way. They're not there to hurt us. They cannot control us. What they can do is they can offer guidance. We can communicate with our spirit guide, so we need to develop that relationship with our spirit guide, and we can come to know whether it's a male or female, whether it's a human being or a four-legged animal or a bird or a fish or a star person or whatever. We can learn their name so that we can have communication back and forth. And when we ask a question of our spirit guide, it must be very clear and concise to the point that the answer comes back very positive or very negative. And that can come back in the sense that you hear the word yes or no, or you'll have a feeling, or you'll have a taste, or you'll see something, that kind of thing. And so that's part of the healing process and understanding and awareness.
Yes, I
So,
share.
yeah.
I share on my shows every once in a while how to contact your higher self, and I give like preschool directions and tell people that they can build up to just driving down the road and communicating in their heads. Well,
That's correct.
it's really
And-
interesting that I'm glad you brought that up, Michael, because there's a lot of people out there that don't realize that they can talk to their higher self, their guardian angel.
That's right, and it's really important to develop that relationship and become aware of that. And as we become aware of that, different things are going to pop up, and we have blocks. And so, and as an example, because I'm a man. So let's look at the man who's had 5 or 6 wives. And we all know 1 or 2 or more in our lifetime of a man who's gone through successful relationships and they've all been less than successful. And so the point here is that 5 or 6 women cannot be wrong. And so the man obviously has issues, and he has blocks, and he's missing the teaching of a successful relationship, and so that it fails. And so there's 4 steps to everything we go through to complete a circle. And so the first step is that we go through something. So let's take this man who's going through a relationship, and it's failing, and it fails. So now that's difficult. So now he's hurting. So that's the second step. He's hurting. So the second step is we must heal from that hurting. And so we do our prayers, we do our ceremony, we forgive ourselves, we forgive the one who we were with and we didn't have a successful relationship. And we don't blame all women, and we don't blame that woman, because in a failed relationship, both sides have failed. So everybody needs to forgive. The third step is we take the time to look at that whole relationship and say, what are the teachings of that marriage that we had? So there's good teachings, and there's teachings that shows the negativity as well. In particular, the negative teachings we have to pay attention to, because that is going to, if we can heal from that, whatever we've done wrong, whatever we weren't aware of, and we can fix that, then possibly the next relationship we're going to be successful in. And then the fourth step is that we share that understanding. And we're going to find different ways throughout our walk and have an opportunity to share. So you go to meet a friend who's going through a failing relationship, so that you're able then to share your experience and say, I had a failed relationship, I got through it, I healed from it, I looked at the teachings, and I understand the teachings, and these are the teachings that I got out of a failed marriage to make it better for my next marriage that I'm going to have. And you're able to share that. Or when someone's talking, you can have empathy with them. And you and I both know we never have sympathy for anyone. Because if we have sympathy for someone, that means we're looking down at them, and we are better than them. Right? And we never want to do that, particularly when we're in the healing role. So those are the 4 steps. Go through something difficult, heal from it, understand the teachings, and then share. And that completes the circle. So if the man who's had one failed relationship does that, then it's very likely the next relationship is going to be successful. So say he's got the teachings, he's done everything right, but the next one still fails. Well, maybe there was more than one teaching you're supposed to get the last time. So let's go through the second failed marriage, heal from that, and then really explore what are the teachings of that failed marriage, and then compare it to the failed marriage before that, and then you'll be able to have more understanding and awareness and forgiveness, and then we're looking at a really good opportunity for the third time then to have a successful marriage. But if you never do those steps, that man will continue through his whole life to have failed relationships, and what's really sad is at the end of his life, he's going to be alone. There will be no partner walking with him to support him, love him, and nurture him in his elderhood. And, that's what we're here for.
And it's important.
To heal and have spiritual experience.
Yeah. I'm just going to touch on this. When I was married to my children's father, every once in a while he would tell me that he hated me, okay? And usually it was when he was drinking. He's an alcoholic. And it wasn't until the last day that we physically lived under the same roof was that I got it. He said, not in the initial conversation, it was later on as I was thinking and processing it. He said, I want a divorce because I hate you, right? And I asked him, I'm like, well, why do you hate me so much? And he said it was because I will never be as nice of a person as you are. Now, I make mistakes. I'm a human being, okay? I don't claim to be perfect. I claim to be learning and growing. But later on, when those words actually hit me, what he was really telling me, Michael, was that he hated himself.
That's correct. That's correct. He felt less than, he was jealous of you, and he fed that. He fed that. And as a result of feeling that pain, feeling that jealousy, feeling less than, feeling not worthy, feeding that over the years of your marriage, it grew. And what you feed is what grows.
Oh, yeah, because during that whole time, I felt unworthy and unloved because it was like no matter what I was doing, whether it was affectionately or other things, it was never good enough, So I share this because there are women out there that go through maybe not the same subtitle, but similar circumstances. Oh, we need to wrap up, Michael. This is great.
Well, yes, we're getting real close to the end.
Michael, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, you can get me on Facebook. It's Michael Harris, and I'm wearing a cedar hat, so it's easy to pick out. And I'll give you an email address. And it's family_Harris at live.
Wait, say it again. Say it again, please.
Family_Harris at live.com. So it's not family-Harris, there's an underscore there between the two words. It's all one word. Family_Harris at live.com. And then also, if they can contact the Divine Zine and ask her for my contact, and that has permission to pass on the information. Okay.
Thank you, Michael, for joining us today, and I look forward to the next show that you're on, and we'll set that up later at your convenience. I want to thank everybody for joining us and for listening later on in the archives. Thank you, Google Plus. Thank you, YouTube listeners. It's always an honor that you're here and with us. And with that, I'll let Michael say goodbye too, but I would like to say many blessings, namaste, aho. May Creator help you to always know how amazing you are.
Oh,
Is that all you want to say?
Hatmia. Love you all. Look forward to seeing you again, talking with you and sharing with you. Aho.
Aho. Until next time, Michael. Goodbye,
Hatmia.
everyone. Thank you for being here.